the 433 podcast, the first episode. Yeah. The 433 show will be a show about football. Since we're in Utah, we'll call it soccer. Well, welcome. It's finally here. The day has finally arrived. Recording the first episode, and basically, to start out with, this is just going to be an audio. As we move on, get better equipment, get more money, more knowledge. We're going to integrate cameras pretty soon. And basically, the idea is to have a once-a-week show about world soccer. I mean, everything from Major League to Premier League in England to Premier League in Bosnia to we'll talk about our favorite team, Minsk, a lot. And let's just get into it. See how it goes. Let's get the ball rolling. Tonight, I have a very special guest here with me. My very good friend, a legend here in Utah, a very good youth coach, very knowledgeable about soccer. My main man, Goran, a.k.a. Santi Ebola. How you doing, my man, over there?
Hey, how are you, man? It's good to be here, Mo. It's this is the first time I got such a great introduction. It makes me feel special. Thank you.
That's what we're here for, man. That's what I'll continue to do. I'll try to make you feel special. Take your pants off real quick.
Not that far. Not that special.
All right. So, I mean, what's been up with you, my man? How'd the game go tonight? Oh, by the way, this guy, youth soccer coach. What's the age group you've been coaching?
Right now, I have the U16 and U17 age groups. They are boys.
U16 and U17.
Correct.
So these are already pretty skilled. I mean, you don't have to. Definitely a difference between U8 and U16, right?
according to the books, they are supposed to be already very knowledgeable and skillful young players.
Okay. Like, at what age do you want to introduce tactics and really that type of knowledge? Like 12, 13, 14? Or?
I believe that everything up to 14 should be technical. I think it maybe even pushing it these days. These days, as you can see, soccer has been growing amazingly crazy.
Like Ebola. But Ebola stopped at some point, but it was definitely...
There you go.
Soccer is one of...
Soccer keeps growing, and we're very excited about it. So if you ask me, maybe even 13, I believe that even 13, up to 13, everything should be technical. After that, you go into the tactics and formations and so on and so on.
Right.
Introduce that beautiful game the way it should be.
I'm trying to make it fun for them before all of that. Make sure that
correct
they're having fun, then get into the nitty-gritty.
Correct. It's just like same thing as school. You don't want to get bored quick.
Right. So would you, tonight, you guys, right before you came into the studio, and I appreciate it. I mean, this is 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. For you guys in Europe, it's 6 a.m. right now, so this probably won't be cast live often. But just to give you an idea what kind of time frame we're dealing with. I mean, this is Friday the 5th, 10:30 p.m. Or Friday the 4th. What is it today?
The 4th, I believe.
Are you sure?
It might be a little bit in the future.
It doesn't matter. Friday the 4th. I'm usually ahead of the game, and so that's why I fuck up a lot.
Tell you what, man, it's the 5th somewhere in the world.
Definitely. Well, the 5th in Europe, I would say.
There you go.
Absolutely there. Alrighty. Anyways, he came back from his game. Just had the game. What was it? I mean, obviously it's indoor. I mean, it's way too cold, right?
Yeah. Utah weather, my man. We're in the mountains here. It snows. Kids don't want to play outside. We got to do the best we can to keep them active, so we go indoors. Right now we're in the futsal season. Basically, just for fun. I see it as another way of practice throughout the winter. Instead of sitting on the couch doing nothing, we do this.
Yeah.
And we keep the kids active all throughout the year.
Cool, man. Cool. So was it a futsal then tonight?
Futsal, correct.
Okay, in futsal, there's basically you have four outfield, right, and the
And the goal, yeah.
goalkeeper. I'm sure most of our listeners will know what it is, but um, you don't play against the wall. It's more foot to foot. And I'm glad that they introduced that futsal part to Utah. I mean, looking back 10 years, all the indoor places, I mean, nobody had idea what futsal was. And so it really it showed that futsal, I think that's where the skills are. You don't have to be even that athletic. I mean, you can play with a belly. You can play with not running a lot if you're very good, have a
Absolutely.
passing game.
Absolutely.
Where compared to some of the other indoor places where they have the walls around, when they're bigger, they play like seven outfield players. Um, that requires a lot of athleticism, a lot of running back and forth. I mean, soccer period, you're gonna be running. For me personally, the most important thing is to be able to run and be conditioned well. But it's nice to have that futsal touch because now the kids can actually see that, because you don't. I mean, here in Utah, you don't see kids playing outside. I love when I see it, but and I don't know how other states are, um, but it's nothing like Europe. There's no kids playing with it. I mean, we used to take like a can or a tennis ball and just play in the school breaks, and you don't see that here.
No, you do not. You miss that part of the game. The fun part of the game. I believe that here, a lot of the competition soccer is introduced too early to these boys or
Mm-hmm.
girls. Either or. Basically, to youth soccer, I believe that it's just introduced too early. They are missing the fun part of that game, and I think that's a big issue because they are lacking in creativity once they get to that older age.
Right, right.
So a lot of the things that you introduce or try to teach them, it just lacks of creativity and that idea of what can I do once I'm, let's just say maybe in a situation like 1v1 against the goalie.
Yeah.
They lack that creativity on how to score now.
Mm-hmm.
So they get confused, and because of that, it was all from an early age. It was just competition and tactics and how to play your position and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe I just this is my personal opinion. I believe it is too early to introduce that part of the game. Before age 13 or 14.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what I figured, I and with having that futsal, these kids will actually see that. You know, they'll have to use their mind. I think a lot more. Even the example you brought up on a 1v1, when you're attacking the goalkeeper, you can't just kick it against the wall, next to the post and have it come back and then score
Right,
it. I
right.
mean, you have to use your brain and
Most
you
of
know
the most of the things you see when you watch these young kids, when they come up against the goalie like that, they usually the ball is just struck really really hard straight to the goalie or above the goal, and that's what I was saying about that lack of. I wouldn't even call it creativity now anymore at this point. It was just it's lack of fun for the game, the love of that game, as you mentioned that, how we have in Europe, we used to play on the streets,
mm-hmm.
basically in just
Yeah.
any average neighborhood. You would just, collect maybe two shirts put down or two trash cans, either or,
Right,
right? You
right.
just find any way to make a goal and you got yourself a little soccer field, and that's where the fun comes in, and that's how we grew up. And once you're introduced to that professional competition level, you now understand, the creativity, or should I, you know what to do once you go with against the goalie. Should can I find maybe an easier way to get to make a pass, or possibly make a, if you will, make a fool out of the goalie, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But these days, as I mentioned, I mean, it seems like a lot of these kids just try to go through the keeper, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, man, 85% of the time it does not work.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to see that you're out there spending the time. You are kind of bringing that European touch, and maybe some of our European listeners can comment on this. I mean, we haven't lived there. I mean, past a rough estimate 20 years. I mean, is Europe still? Do they still have, especially the Western European countries? I think you'll still have the soccer and the third world. And I mean, I don't want to offend anyone and by saying third world, but just some of those countries that are not that well off, where there's a big gap between the rich and the poor. I mean, I'm sure people in Eastern Europe are playing outside. People in in South America, people in Mexico, kids are playing outside. I wonder if that's still in Germany, France, the UK. I do wonder if kids are still if they are still doing that. If that's an American thing not to do, or just the whole PlayStation. I mean, when we had PlayStations back then too and stuff, and we still went out. So I don't know, but I think it's very crucial for that early age to develop some of that skill, and get the love for the game. You have to love it. You have to love it.
That's actually a really good point to bring out there, because just because of the standards right now that we have in soccer and how to make it to professional levels. A lot of these kids, they want to just get there the fast way, so they skip a lot of it. It seems, at least, right? It seems like they're skipping the fun part of that game, and they shoot straight for the top, trying to make it to these academies, and they all they do is just work hard and hard and work. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you are missing a lot of the fun part of that game. What it's actually supposed to be in reality.
Yeah.
Is you're supposed to do something you love. But it seems like like you mentioned. I mean, it's a question: do they still do it somewhere out there in Europe? Or I'm sure, like, there's kids that still just do it for fun, but it seems like that has evolved to a point where now they just use it as a way to get there quicker. So they skip the streets soccer and go straight to competition,
Hmm.
or working hard trying to become the next Ronaldo or Messi or whoever they prefer.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? With America having so many registered kids playing, I think you hit a nail on the head. They are missing a lot of that fundamental, and they're doing it in a very quick way here to try to move up to go to college, and with so many um, kids, young adults being active in soccer. I mean, in the last few years, there's been a very minimal number of American superstars that have come out, and has that been the issue? It's just the way that it's set up with high schools and colleges, and mainly, yes, they do get an education, but is it better for an 18-year-old to go and join the academy of Bolton, or for an 18-year-old to go and play somewhere in Southern Cali for a college, and then maybe get drafted into the MLS? It's tough. Um, I don't know what the better way is, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that I haven't seen many players come out of college that have done great. There's definitely a few. But you haven't seen that. So is that the right path to be a superstar, or should you at that age already be involved in academies? And you don't have to go to the best academies. You don't have to go to Barcelona. You don't have to go to Ajax. You don't have to go to Arsenal. Go down to Hull. Actually, Southampton has one of the better ones. They've produced a lot of players over the years. Would that be better for these American kids? Um, Obviously, as a parent, you'd probably say no. Go to college. Play while you're there. You might get drafted, get a degree in the way, so you can be a stockbroker when the soccer stuff doesn't work out. And for those guys, it's probably not going to work out. But when you have that kid that goes off into a foreign country, doesn't speak the language, their family somewhere stuck in a ghetto of, Argentina, um, that kid will probably be have will I mean for sure will have a bigger motivation to succeed and so I think those are some of those differences and one of the main ones why we haven't seen some of those great American players move on. I do think it will change, starting with you guys, starting with coaches like you, and with the curriculum that's been created. I'm sure Jurgen Klinsmann in the last 10 years had something to do with it. I mean, just look at Germany. Um, Germany changed probably to this system. I mean, we're kids at 4 already getting trained. They changed this about 20, 30 years ago. Their youth system is amazing, and look at what's happening. They have some of the best clubs. Their national team is really good. Personally, I think the Euros will go to Germany. I think even the World Cup, even though it's 3 years ahead of us, I see a lot of young German talent coming out that even the next World Cup we'll probably see a era of Germany, um, teams winning the Champions League, winning the Euros, the the World Cups. I think it's one of the main reasons. It's not just they have a great generation. No, they changed this whole curriculum. Very hard word to say, man. Try saying it.
Curriculum, right?
Curriculum.
My English is not the best.
I can tell, man. I can definitely tell. Uh, but is that what am I trying to say here? I kind of lost my train of thought. Um, yes, that is changing that whole mentality. What's been done in the United States in the last few years with the changing of the curriculum, probably at some point the USA will win the World Cup. Yes, I've said it, even though it might be in 2038, but I think at some point it'll happen. How'd you do tonight? By the way, I forgot to space that out.
We did very well. I was very surprised with my boys how they came out and they played their best today. We took a really good team and we won 5-0. It was a complete shutout and they played amazing. I mean, it was really good.
So who'd you play? Like,
I'm really bad with my opponents' names.
that's
man,
fine, but is that a serious team? Or
it was a really technical team. They were all Latino boys.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they're called Salt Lake FC.
Okay.
I would assume. I'm not sure. They're very technical.
Yeah.
So very skillful. What I have seen, this team has lacked in team play, and that has
Okay.
hurt them tonight against us. Which I wanted to comment to what you just mentioned is the soccer growth here in the U.S. I believe that it is definitely something that is looking very good in the upcoming future. It's looking very good. Klinsmann has definitely done his job here by changing some of his curriculum and some of the ways that now us coaches, we have to go through this a whole new different system. So it's not as easy anymore as it used to be to become a youth coach. However, speaking about that, I believe that this is where the problem starts.
Okay.
Is exactly with the coaches here that we have currently. And unless they start putting even more knowledge and making these licenses harder to obtain, I don't see a lot of talent being produced.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, the reason I say that is that we coming across a lot of coaches who are teaching these young boys or girls, this competition level too early. So there's absolutely no development, and I see that even in these academies, MLS academies, that for them, it's a lot of it is about competition. So who's gonna win? their focus is not on developing players, and that's why you see a lot of the talent that could probably produce the next multi-million dollar pay price tag on a player. It's because of this that they focus on their wins or losses and those type of stats instead of making sure that these players progress in the game of soccer. And I think that's a big issue here. So until we get the proper coaching of the coaches, and how to properly introduce the game to these players, there's gonna be a lot of talent wasted, and being thrown out, and then they're gonna go out and play, basketball, NBA, NFL. We have a great example.
Lacrosse.
Steve Nash is a great example.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is
Yeah.
one person who could have been a great soccer player.
Yeah. I think his brother was. Didn't his brother play somewhere in Canada, like Toronto or something?
Possibly, yeah.
I think that he ended up being a professional, and I kind of saw clips of Nash. It was pretty cool to see.
So absolutely, and then I mean, that's right now. That's the biggest issue we have here, at least here in Utah.
Yeah.
And another thing is that playing club soccer here is, in my opinion, I believe is too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen a lot of great talent going to waste because they cannot afford to play club soccer.
Mm-hmm.
That's another big reason and big issue that they need to figure out one way or another to make sure that this isn't an issue. I mean,
yeah, you definitely don't want to prevent, talented players just because their parents don't have that type of money. Prevent them from playing for good clubs. But at the end of the day, all these clubs out there, they're here also to pretty much make money. That's what they're here for. I mean, they're not a factory that's gonna push out talent. I think they are here to take money. And I mean, I see it changing, and I agree. It starts with the coach, and I think that's where it's going to help out. One of the things, and this is something I've heard, there's 50,000 kids registered in Utah to play. So 50,000 kids actively playing, for their neighborhood team, or I'm not sure if high school is included in that. 50,000 kids, that's a whole lot of kids to be coached. And I think there's probably a shortage of coaches, which in that event ends up being, hey, does somebody's dad have time on Thursday night to come and coach us?
absolutely.
A dad that never saw a soccer game in his life before. So I think what needs to change also, and are we dreaming here? Maybe, but it needs to be where these coaches are actually getting paid. I mean, basically living wages. I mean, I don't expect him to get paid 100,000, but I expect these coaches to get paid along the line of let's say a teacher. Now we all know teachers, they don't make anything in this country. Yes, they have a great benefit of being off 3 months in the summer, but they do not make a lot of money. I mean, average, I would say maybe 30,000. Yes, there are those other ones that do make 82, and depending. I don't know much about that, so I don't want to talk about it. But if you make it a good wage, then you will get serious people that are going to get into it. And this is actually a really good segue into the next what I want to talk to you about. And I think that with the United Soccer Association, American Soccer Association, most states run very similar, when it comes to the coaching setup and all of that and the licensing. It's all that one curriculum, basically. So it's not just based on a state. Um, what do you think for somebody to go into coaching? And by the way, you are at your D license, getting your C pretty soon. Is that what you're standing at?
Correct.
Okay, so you're getting it, and I mean you're somebody that's done it pretty fast too, and it's really taken a liking. I mean, I see you doing it. You really love it. The money it definitely matters, but it's not the most important thing. But even if you could get 40,000 a year, that would probably be the only thing. You would need a second job. You would be able to scout more. You'll be able to do more trainings. Spend more time with your own family. All of these things, and I think that has to change as well. I mean, I've heard of coaches just coaching for free. You know, that's another thing. And yes, that's great. I mean, I would do it too here and there, but to really, it needs to become a career. And when it becomes that, I think that's at that point, when this country having 350 million people, so many kids, such a big pool of talent, we're gonna see things happening. But what I wanted to ask you, since you went through this fairly recently with getting all these licenses, starting pretty much at the bottom of the barrel and moving up, um, do you have any suggestions? Like, let's say me, I looked into it the other day, and I don't know if I'll necessarily go into coaching, but at least I'll start obtaining the licenses. There are some courses coming up here in January. Actually, almost every month they have something. Um, do you have any suggestions for any coaches out there that are kind of on like I thought about doing it, but I don't know if I. What would you say to them? Any suggestions?
Well, first of all, you were spot on with the payments. Okay, with making enough money to be able to focus on just this. Okay, so with this being said, you don't wanna have to have another job if you're gonna be a coach. This career has to be taken serious. So you are taking over somebody's life or potential career. You want to make sure that they go the right way first of all. So you are absolutely right. We need coaches to be able. They don't need to be paid like you said, 100,000 or who knows what. I mean, this is club soccer here, but they need to be at least comfortable. So they don't need to have another job. Their focus should be strictly on their team and their players. That's it. Period. So with that said, when you are going to obtain your licenses, just make sure that this is something you want to do first of all. Second, understand the seriousness of what you're getting into. You are teaching somebody, the way of soccer. You are potentially taking control over their career or their future, if you will. So make sure you really want to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you don't have a career that you're gonna say, well, you know what, my career comes first. So if I cannot come to practice today or go to coach a game, then I can't do it because I have another job. So this
Right.
is this is something that a lot of coaches have to think about, and make sure you take the time to understand the game, to teach it well in the proper way. Just basically make sure you love it. It's
Okay.
very simply said.
Okay. I mean, I hope that the powers listening to this podcast here in a few minutes, I think we found a solution to the problem of or we found a solution to the USA winning the World Cup in what did we say 2038.
38, I believe you said.
2038. So this is listen to the last 15 minutes of this podcast, and you will find a solution. Um, in very basic, make sure you love it. Um, and basically, what it comes down to is make it harder for coaches to obtain their licenses, even from the beginning. Make it harder and pay them well, um, pay them enough Pay them to where they can skip out on their regular jobs. Pay them where they won't be losing money. What can happen in return is these coaches focusing fully on training and not just one team. Like we mentioned, there's 50,000 kids in the state alone. That needs a lot of coaches. Now, a coach that's getting paid, 40,000 a year, he can coach. Um, my guess is 6 teams. If everything is scheduled properly, and the only conflict I see is getting to all the actual games on the weekends. But a coach, I can see, you know, maybe coaching 6 teams, and divide that up instead of each coach coaching 1 or 2 teams. Pay these guys a little bit more, make it their full time job, and really review them, make it harder for them to become coaches, and I think we have something there. Well, wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, 6 teams would be maybe pushing it.
Uh
If
huh.
you were to maybe possibly split it into 3 teams of girls and three
Okay.
teams boys, that way you could actually make all the games. The
Oh, okay.
girls, as we know, have a different season of the year than the boys.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you can make it. But with 6 teams, if you have at the same time, that would be pushing it since all the games are on Saturday.
Okay.
So
That's
that would
yeah.
be a little bit hard. With 3 teams, I think is just perfect. Three, possibly maybe 4 if you're very, very work
If you have
like a workhorse.
a good work ethic, and
Work ethic. Yeah,
if you have it planned out pretty well too,
correct. You
planned
gotta you
out.
gotta have a good team manager as well.
Yeah, and maybe even make it to where 3 teams you're the coach, and that one or another 2 teams you're just assistant that is just going to help with the sessions, may not be there for all the games. I mean, there's definitely ways of doing it. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And as long as you are there, as you mentioned, to make these classes or to obtaining a license make it harder. They don't need to necessarily make it harder. We don't want to like scare people off, but just make sure that these guys ask the right questions,
hmm
in their tests, so that when coaches come out to actually obtain their license, they understand the game and they are willing to push it, to obtain this license, no matter what obstacles come in between, them and this license. That way, that you, at the end, you are gonna have dedicated coaches who are willing to be here and do what's right for these kids.
right, right. Okay, well, we definitely established that, and I'm glad I had you here for this conversation, because I mean, I think it's definitely important for the future of the game here in the states. And we brought up us living overseas, and um, one of the things with that, and there's no denying. Uh, Both of us have spent time in Germany, and there's no denying of the Bundesliga. Um, I would not say my favorite or the best league in the world, but very entertaining. And the reason I say that is today, actually, because you know what? I think the Premier League, starting next season, is going to have Friday games, if I'm understanding it correctly, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Have some Friday games, because Germany, Italy, France, they all had a game today. And I think it's very important, and they're smart. Italy is doing that because Juventus is going to have a Champions League game either on Tuesday or Wednesday. PSG won 3-0 today away. PSG, they played Friday. They're going to have a very important game too, coming up. I don't have the schedule in front of me, Tuesday or Wednesday. So it's for a variety of reasons. I mean, for us it will be good because there's more games. For me, it was great watching it. I watched Schalke today play Hannover 96. Really great game. 0-0 at the half. Um, and Eric Winalda and those other guys discussing making the halftime show like it's American football, bringing up stats and saying that they don't see where a goal is gonna come from.
Hmm.
They did not predict it very well. The game finished at 3-1 Schalke, and it was really good. I mean, Gelsenkirchen, that stadium is amazing. And Huntelaar is still playing pretty good, man. Holds up the ball really well. He scored a nice volley. The first goal was a penalty that was, they fouled him, so he got him a penalty. It was good still seeing Huntelaar. Then Hanover tried to come back at 2-0. They brought a guy in. He scores 2-1. 2 minutes don't go by, they get another one. So great
Mm.
comeback by Schalke. Schalke wins. Um, and then Juventus played Lazio today as well. Have you heard of
Interesting game.
Have you heard of Paulo Dybala, Juventus striker?
I have not. No.
Paulo Dybala, I'm gonna say it right now. I mean, this guy is going to be one of the best soccer players in the world.
Has potential, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he's already killing it out there, and I haven't heard of him much. He's an Argentinian that has some family that's like Polish and Italian, but are born in Argentina. Anyways, this kid is like 22, 23. Last year he played for Palermo or Parma, either or. And I think this is the main reason why I haven't really heard of him yet. Honestly, I don't follow Serie A much. The ones that I do follow are the few teams, like the Milans, the Roma. Yeah,
Roma, right?
Roma. You follow that Juventus a little bit, but this guy scored an amazing goal today, and he already has like 10 or so goals. This was his first season in Juventus. Paulo Dybala. They paid like 32 million euros for him, so
Oh,
he
wow.
didn't come as like a,
Right, right.
I don't know,
Not cheap.
not cheap. I mean, 32 million. I mean, that's roughly what we paid. And when I say we, let's say Arsenal. I don't want to say we, but Arsenal paid for Sanchez. In somewhere in that region. I mean, this guy's amazing. I wish Arsenal had a player like that. I wish Arsenal in January, again, this is me dreaming, would go up to Torino, go to the Juventus, say, hey, we have these briefcases here for you. There's 100 million euros cash. Give us Paulo Dybala and give us Paul Pogba, and you can have these 100 million.
Mm.
And come end of May, we would see the trophy being celebrated in North London. Champions League, personally, I think is out of the question. But winning the league, I think with these two players we could do it. We've been needing a crazy striker like that for years, especially somebody 22, 23. If we would have him, and then Pogba, yes, he has been on and off. Some people say he's overrated. Maybe the price tag is much because I think they wanted like 60 million for him euros.
I agree with you. I
I
think it's
think
pushing it a little
I
bit.
think that's what the issue was. But with now, I don't know if you look at Arsenal's situation right now, Cazorla out probably for the whole season.
Hmm.
For the whole season, Coquelin, the other D mid, out for a while as well. It could be 3 months. Those are two of the most important players. Sanchez is out for 4 weeks. He'll miss the Man City game. With all the other players that have been out, I mean, it's just piling up. And I know we don't do a lot of business in January anyway. Um, but as far as I remember, who did we used to get in January? They bought a couple players in January before. Some have worked out, some didn't. But having these players injured, now I'm really worried. I I was expecting and had a feeling that this could be Arsenal's year. The only team in the way being City.
City, right?
Um, I feel that they're gonna have a big focus on the Champions League this year, and they do lose some games that they shouldn't lose. And I also feel that when we play them, we have the upper hand. I don't know why. I just think that Wenger, when he plays them, he has the upper hand. When we play Chelsea, when Arsenal plays Chelsea, I mean, it's no matter what kind of form they're in, I have a feeling that Arsenal will lose that game. But with City, I feel like we beat them. With two games that we still have to play in, we could beat them. But now with all these injuries, oof, it's
Well,
rough.
well, Arsenal, if this is not your
It's
reason to start spending money, I mean, I don't know what is. They have lost pretty much every, star player that they have.
mm-hmm.
I think that Koscielny is injured as well.
Koscielny
If,
got
if
injured in the last game. Um,
so, what is this
I
with
don't
this
know.
Arsenal curse and constant
And
injuries?
you know what? Like his injury too. I watched that game. That was last weekend playing. Who was it? West Brom or Norwich? Why am I forgetting this? Norwich.
Norwich last game, yeah.
Norwich. We went up with a Ozil goal. Koscielny's injury was actually off the ball, so he wasn't going in for a tackle. Coquelin's was, because Coquelin went in there dying, like he always does. That's why I
Yeah.
love that kid. But Koscielny is just standing there, and then just drops and like holds his. Um,
Hmm.
it's what do you think it is? Is it the warm up, the medical staff? I mean, people blame the medical staff and this and that, and or how they're getting coached. I mean,
Um.
now it seems like there's got to be something because there's. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm sure if we were to pull up the stats, there's no team in the English Premier League or anywhere in Europe um, that's getting injured so much.
Or
I
anywhere
mean,
in this world
I
in
mean,
this
even the
matter. I mean,
supporters, dude. I mean,
right.
I have a headache right now because of this.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'm getting cramps.
yeah. I mean, I, I don't know. What do you think the issue's been? I mean, what do you think?
That's it's really tough to say. I read an article a while ago about someone was writing about saying that Wenger puts these players on a tough diet, and someone has mentioned that may be an issue. Which I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, could that be really a problem? Could that be causing injuries, or could it actually be the medical staff? I mean, I'm not sure. This was just an article I
Yeah.
read, and I'm
I have no idea when it comes to these things. Just me as yeah, taking a guess. Nutrition could probably have something to do with recovery, how fast you recover. Uh, but can it really have an impact on your knee ligaments, whether you eat fish and chips or whether you have a protein shake? Will that, I don't know, but there's definitely now there's no other way but to not question it because this is season after season. This keeps happening, and we had excuse before, you know, players are coming back from the World Cups and the Euros and the African Cup of Nations, and then they have these preseason games in Malaysia, and it just keeps going, 60 games a year. But yes, but so does every other team as well. They are not the only team, yet these injuries just keep happening. Um, this gives a great chance to like Gabriel, the other central back at Arsenal, to give him a shot, and then in the midfield, it doesn't really give a shot to anyone because we have to play the players that we have that are not injured. So now who's replacing Cazorla and Coquelin?
Sanchez, Walcott,
So
who's replacing all these
yeah,
players?
the
Absolutely. If this is not a reason to start spending your money, Arsenal, here in January, then honestly, I don't know what is.
yeah,
They got to start looking at
and he
something.
usually doesn't. He's not a fan of it. He's
No.
not a fan. He did buy a couple of players. I think Arshavin is one of them. I think recently he bought a player, and I can't recall who it was. A top player, kind of like in January too. But he's been quoted as saying we should get away with the January transfer. I mean, this guy is really, I love the guy, but it's getting a little bit upset because Arsenal is so close to winning the title. I mean, I can rule Man U and Chelsea out already. We can
Hmm.
rule them out. I personally feel that the bigger the bigger challenges this year is going to be Liverpool, who's turning the season around thanks to their coach. I
Hmm.
think they will finish in the top four, and it hurts to say this as an Arsenal supporter, but Tottenham Hotspurs are the best team in the Premier League this year. They're not the number one team. I think they only lost the first game, and then they haven't lost since, so they had a bunch of draws. But the way that they're playing, they have a great coach in Pochettino, and then you have these guys that are coming out like Deli Ali, then you have Ericsson. Kane had a little bit of a rough start, but now he's back to his old self. I think great player. Dembele, they're just gelling really well. They're playing great, like really strong defensively, like really in position. But then when they come out, oof, they're like storming the place, man. And it hurts to say,
Right.
but I think that they are the best team, and they're competing in Europa League. It's one of those. They have to unfortunately do those shitty Thursday nights, but man, they're really good. And with all of this happening, Arsenal seeing it, is it really Arsene that's saying, I have 80 million, but I'm not going to spend it because I can't find anyone, or is it stuff that we don't know? Is it the
Mm.
is it the owner, Cranky, the American owner especially, saying, yes, we have this money and say that we have this money, but do not go out there spending it because this was the prime chance, but we did not sign a player outfield player in the summer. The only team in like the top leagues that did not sign a player that's outfield. The only player they signed was Czech. I mean, come on, not signing one player, but there's team like Sassuolo in Italy and Leipzig in the second German Bundesliga that signs players. There's teams in the English fourth division that are signing, and he's not. Is it
Yeah, this is kind of their politics
like
that,
upsetting?
yeah, that it's hard to understand what's behind that, what's behind the curtain there. But uh, it definitely is frustrating. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
there with you.
Mm.
They got to start doing something. I heard that uh, help me out here. Aguero
Okay.
wants to go out.
Wants to leave the team.
Yes. Um,
Oof, Aguero, I think is a great player, man.
See, but this is the type of player that I doubt will ever be an Arsenal player.
Yeah, and who would sell Aguero, who's been like the top striker a few years? Who would sell it to their rivals? You know what I mean?
Correct.
I see him probably.
Well, see, Arsenal would do stuff
Arsenal would
like
sell
this.
him. Of course they would. If he was an Arsenal player, he would be playing for Chelsea right now.
Yeah, right. I mean, we have these
That
situations
happened.
occurring over and over again. We have
Yeah.
Van Persie as an example.
Did you
Not
see Man U sends Van Persie to Istanbul? The guy's so pissed. He hates it. I mean, he was sent to
right.
Istanbul. I'm glad because I hate the skunk. I don't like the guy. Fuck him for all I care. Let him play in Cyprus next time. But Man U sends him to Fenerbahce, saying, "Well, yeah, you still have Champions League." But they send him there for a reason. They send him there so that a team like Liverpool
Wouldn't pick him
that
up,
doesn't
and
pick him up.
absolutely.
A team like the Spurs with him and Kane up front. And I'm not talking even about the big ones, the Chelsea's. I think he would have done way more for Chelsea than Remy and Costa did this year. Um, but yeah, Manu does this thing. Let's ship this guy off to Turkey. Nobody will hear about him, and
Mm.
nobody does really. Nobody cares about him really because he's that personality, man.
He's definitely out of the picture now.
He's out of the picture. And imagine even Arsenal do it. Like it's hard. Would you, as an Arsenal fan, would you take? Let's say in January they say he's coming back, very close to signing. Would you be like, yes, sign him up?
Uh, Van Persie back in Arsenal, huh?
Yep. Would you say yes, sign him up?
It's hard to say. As you mentioned, he left Arsenal on a bad note. Uh,
Ugh,
and
disgusting.
into a rival.
Disgusting.
So if I'm going with my heart here, and as a fan, I would not, no. But because I feel that Arsenal is in desperate need of something,
Hmm.
then it would be something that it's I would consider.
Yeah.
Just because of the
Interesting.
need.
It's a tough one. Um, I don't think I could see him again.
But I don't think he's
There's
gonna come
there's a
back.
few players like that. Yeah, I don't think there's a chance. It was like hypothetical.
It's like I doubt that Sanya is ever gonna come back. Clichy,
Yeah,
Nasri. I mean, we
no.
can go on like this
But see,
forever.
those guys, I wouldn't. If Sanya or Clichy were to come back, I wouldn't mind them so much. Nasri, I would mind. Adebayor, I would mind. Because whenever they played against us, scoring, then cheering, Nasri did the same thing. When he left, he talked shit about the fans.
Hmm.
But then you have these legends like Henri. He comes back. He leaves the club, goes to Barcelona on great terms. Can come back anytime.
Anytime,
Comes back,
absolutely.
trains with the team. You know, there won't be no statues built for Van Persie, even though he could have reached that level. But there are certain players. The ones I wouldn't be mad at, let's say Fabregas. I don't think it was Fabregas's choice, even though he plays for Chelsea. It sucks, but to leave, it was just the way it happened. They were really pushing him to leave. There was the money, and that was the thing of going back home. Going
Mm.
back home to your hometown or your home region, your club, your
Yeah, it's
friends,
understandable.
and winning titles. So
Hmm.
I understand him completely when he left, and then him coming back. I don't think that if he would have had the same offer from Arsenal, Arsenal doesn't need a Fabregas, but if he had the same offer from Chelsea and from Arsenal, I'm sure that he would have picked Arsenal. Yeah, I don't think there was an offer from Arsenal because we didn't really need that type of player. We got Ozil, who is showing this year that he's better. Fabregas used to be the assist king.
Yeah, he's
Now,
breaking records
you
now.
know,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
We have Ozil, we have Cazorla, we have a lot of those creative players. So I don't think he's necessary to have. What we need is somebody to break bones. This is why I mentioned Pogba, um,
Hmm.
the guy from Southampton, Vanyama, um, some of those guys, those even Song. Song, I don't know what happened there. They'll let him go Barcelona. It's his second year at West Ham out on loan. Players like that is is what we need, you know. And being so close, it's not like you need to reestablish the whole team and everything. This is two or three players that I could come up with that
Right.
that would be close. It still comes down to the players, and I don't get how they can be leading against West Brom and lose, and they could be first if they win it. I don't get that. I don't get how they can't beat Norwich when they can be first, even though they're ahead. Losing to Swansea, losing the first game to West Ham, it still comes down to the players. They are the ones that are playing. So there is something wrong with the motivation, but it's mostly wrong with the depth and the injuries. Um, we just have like a top-notch striker like Jamie Vardy. If we had that guy, Jamie Vardy, a really good defensive midfielder, like a really good strong one, kind of like a Yaya Torre type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then maybe like a winger, one of those guys. Like who I really like, that Swansea guy Sigurdsson. I really like him. I like Ericsson too from Tottenham.
Where did Mahrez come from? Leicester's boy.
Yeah, Mahrez is
Yeah.
is amazing story too, man. He's like almost like that guy like that I was just talking about too, the Juventus guy. Mahrez, even though Leicester has been in the league last year and barely scraped by to make it, I actually looked him up because the first few, because of Premier League, fantasy Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I saw him on people's.
That's one way to discover players,
Yeah,
right?
that's how I saw him on one of the teams. Like the first few games, assists, goal, like tons of them. Then dropped off a little bit. Then back to his normal self, really well. And I think it's a guy that cost. We need to look this up. I'm actually going to look it up. He cost them like less than $1 million. Um,
Yeah, that's
he
amazing. I mean, that scout right there did his
That's the
job.
scout right there.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. I agree. And last year he played as well, but I think that he didn't play either the full season. He had some injuries. He didn't play much. Like he didn't have that many appearances. Um, let's take a look here. So um, January 2014. This is when they were still in the championship, so not even Premier League. I signed a 3.5 year contract. By the way, probably gonna go to Chelsea at some point to ruin his career. Um, just like they did with Mohamed Salah and a list of 70 other players. I don't think I have. I don't think it shows here, but he was like less. I mean, obviously, because he was a nobody and went into the championship. Um,
I
this guy,
believe.
he's 24 too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
just because you were mentioning Chelsea right now and some of the players, I think the biggest that I was the most bummed about is Falcao.
oh yeah,
I mean, this
yeah.
this man was doing fantastic
What
things,
happened to Falcao?
and then all of a sudden it's just shut down. Now he's nowhere to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is something that Arsenal should approach, if you ask me. Stuff like this. Hey, okay, these great guys, they go to clubs like I'm not sure. I mean, Chelsea or Man U or wherever they go, and their career doesn't go as well. Why doesn't Arsenal approach stuff like this?
Yeah,
Even though, as you mentioned, I mean, some of these clubs here in England, they're less likely to let go some of their stars to your opposing teams. That's a big issue. But for example, Di Maria, he came to
yeah,
United. He was awful.
yeah.
He
We
goes to
didn't see him.
PSG and he's doing amazing
He's
things.
back. Yeah, yeah. Definitely. The Falcao. That's one of the biggest drops I've ever seen. I mean, that guy just
Big
dropped.
surprise, yeah.
It dropped, and like I thought he would come back now at Chelsea, like born again. Still, maybe scored a couple of goals. You don't even see him in the big picture of Mourinho. By the way, Mahrez, he came for 350,000
Wow.
British pounds,
Wow,
so
wow,
less
wow.
than half a million. And Vardy came for like a record fee back then, or wherever they played, for $1 million. Now
See?
these two guys at the moment. There's been talks of Vardy to Vardy to Chelsea and Vardy to Man U already in January, with like a price tag of 38 million.
Mm.
I'm
I, I,
sure
I
Mares.
believe, Mo, I believe I'm in the wrong business here.
But I do it, and I think Mares with I think Mahrez price tag realistically with what he has shown, um, I don't know, 18, 20 million.
15, I was about to say. So
15.
about something like
Let's
that,
do that. But came in
right?
for 350,000.
So
That's
it's
what the crazy
amazing,
thing is. And a
amazing.
lot that's a good scouting. That shows right there. A team like that. Same goes with Southampton. It picks up these players for like a couple million and they end up scoring tons of goals and then Liverpool takes them, of course. I think well, Arsenal takes them, of course, too. Tia Walcott, Chamberlain, I think Chambers. Is it Chambers? I think that's another player. So there's definitely those feeder clubs too that just sell off their players. But man, those guys are amazing. Do you think they can last? Leicester.
You know, Leicester, I just don't see it happening. If they
Mm-hmm.
lose Vardy, Mahrez,
Well,
um,
let's say Vardy Mahrez stay till the summer. Do you see? Because it would be an amazing story. Honestly, if Arsenal can't win the league this year, I would love for Leicester to win.
the
That would
story
be
with
amazing.
the
Can that
story with
happen?
Leicester is that they it seems like that the team that has been always winning their games from a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Always winning in the last minute or starting scoring in the second half and starting to play in the last 20 to 30 minutes of the game. Um, I just don't see it happening. I think it was one of those things that just happened in the first half of the season. I don't see them finishing that well this whole season,
Okay.
especially if I mean, God forbid, one of these players got injured.
Yeah.
That would hurt them a lot. And
Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like that's those few players. They don't really have.
with that
You
said,
count
is
them on one
yeah.
hand.
And with that said, is also another question that I would like to find out. Is do you think that it's too soon for these guys to even leave the club and to get such a high price tag?
Yes, but who wouldn't? Let's say tomorrow somebody comes to you as a coach, and says, "Hey, you want to go and coach the RSL Academy, and you're gonna get paid." I mean, just looking at the transfer fee, he came for 350,000, and you're gonna get paid 10 times more a month. What would you do?
Hmm. No, no, I would take it.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying. Exactly.
But the thing is that
Exactly.
do you
Is
think
it the
is
best thing? I don't know. It'll play out over time,
for
but
for these clubs?
somebody
Let's say Man United is looking at Mahrez right now,
Vardy, they are
or
specifically, yeah.
Vardy. Okay, so and Leicester puts a price tag of 18 million. Let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that for United, are they in the right mind to say, okay, well, here's the 18 million, give him to us? Or would that be a little bit too much? Would they be taking a risk? Because we saw that with Man United a lot. They spending a lot of money on
Yeah,
players, and then they drop the price tag, almost half,
yeah.
half price.
Uh,
Di Maria, for example,
they pay like 68 something for Di Maria.
and let him go for what, 30,
Yeah,
32?
they don't have the numbers in front of me, but yeah, you're right. I mean, they're definitely a club that's been throwing money, and I think with that Adidas money, and they actually, the thing is like, who's to say that they shouldn't? I don't like it either. I don't like this modern thing either. There's, you know what, in Manchester, Arsenal at least has a couple of guys, not as much anymore as they used to, from the academy or from the London area. Manchester United, like a great British team, their last player that was out of that city was Danny Welbeck. He
Mm.
was the player from out of that area, and they sold him for not that much money. They sold him to one of their rivals. So it seems like these teams, they don't even care anymore. I mean, this is a guy from that community, and they sell him off. Um, so I think that they don't even look at it the way that me and you look at it. Um, I think it's especially in Vardy. The guy's 29 years old. I mean, you give him 4 or 5 years. That's it. do you want to spend? And Leicester's gonna boost up the price. They're
Oh,
not gonna let him go
absolutely.
for 18 million. I mean, I'm thinking they'll say 40 million if you want him right now, because they know these teams will spend. And with Vardy, I mean, the guy, he broke that record, right? 11 games in a row.
11 right now, yeah. And
11.
are they playing tomorrow again?
Yes, they're playing tomorrow, and actually, we're gonna get
Leicester, Swansea City, yeah.
yep, we'll get into that right now. Matter of fact, and then let's wrap it up, man. It's been about an hour. I'm really glad for us to get this started. Get this off the ground, and we've already been talking for an hour. We'll continue doing this, like I said, in the future for all the listeners out there. We'll have a video so you can actually see what's going on in the studio. We'll integrate it with YouTube so we can even play, let's say, the best Mahrez goals while we're talking about it. Along with that, I have a lot of ideas. I'll do some on my own where I just talk about some soccer history. I don't think that's anywhere around, so if anybody's interested, they can listen to soccer history. And then another thing that I have planned is for us um, to get together and actually record a podcast while a game is going on, with the game and with us, with the video switching and us commenting on the game.
Absolutely.
Just change it up around a little bit. So we're gonna have all of this for you guys. If you like listening, keep listening. Subscribe, comment. If you don't, there's a lot of podcasts out there. Go listen to whatever you would like. If you don't like me for some reason, for my voice, for my accent, for who I support, go on, move on. Life is too short to hate. Just move on and listen to something that you like. That's the same thing that I would do. Next Friday, we'll have a show again. These will probably go up on very late Friday nights or Saturday mornings. I do want to get them up before the kickoffs on Saturday mornings go. Which brings us to the last segment of the show, where me and my main man get to predict some of the Premier League games. So let's get it started, baby. Um, Stoke City versus Manchester City. And I need the actual scores. We'll basically, and then we'll count the points. So how many games do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So um, quite a bit of games. So
Absolutely. Quite a bit, starting off with Stoke City and Manchester City. A very good game. Manchester City here, away team. You know what? This could be a very interesting one. I do see Manchester City pulling off a win here. I would say a 2-1 for Manchester City.
2-1 Manchester against Stoke. So 1-2 because they're playing Stoke at home. And you know what? This is another team that I like, and that definitely changed over the years. Stoke is no longer that team that's just fouling and breaking legs. They got Shaqiri, they got Boyan, they got Afellay. They got a couple good guys with some skills. Um, I am gonna go with 2-2 on this one. Next game, Southampton at Aston Villa. Goran.
Southampton and Villa. Again, both of these teams are doing very well. I believe Villa.
No. I think you're mistaken. Villa is horrible, man.
But Villa can be a surprising team.
Villa's been the team that should have been in the championship for a few years, but always somehow does not end up there. But I don't
Just
think
because
there is a worse team than them right now. I think they are in last place.
just because this is what I'm gonna say. Just because Southampton is playing home, I
Mm-hmm.
will go 2-0.
2-0 Southampton. And I will say 2-0 as well, if I may. Next game is what we just started talking about. In Wales, Leicester City. Now that's a trip for them. Go to cold Wales, rainy. Swansea Leicester. What do you think?
This is a tough one. Leicester has been doing great, but they have been doing so great that I believe this one is going to be very tough for them, and I see it going 1-1.
1-1. And you know what? Um, Swansea struggled a little bit. Actually, Swansea's in the second part at the bottom of the table. They need a win. I will go ahead and say 1-0 Swansea. Yes, I did say it. Jamie Wardy, he will not score this time. Um, Watford Norwich.
Ooh, Watford Norwich. With Norwich going last week a tie against Arsenal, I believe their confidence is going to be good on this one going ahead. Maybe too good, but I do see it going 0-1.
0-1. So Norwich winning away.
Correct.
All right, my friend. And I'm going to do the direct opposite. I think these guys are too cocky now. Um, I think Watford, Capoue, very strong player. Another player Arsenal missed out a few years. Obviously, it didn't work out for him at Spurs, as we can see where he's playing. But let's not talk about too much. Watford to win 1-0. Now, the game of the weekend. Drum roll, please. El Clasico. Arsenal versus Sunderland.
Arsenal Sunderland. I'll tell you right now, Arsenal needs this win. With the injuries against Sunderland, tough. You know, the Black Cats have been doing pretty good. Arsenal home. Let's go with the heart and say 2-0.
2-0. 3-0. For me, this is Mo. Yes, I've said it, even with all the struggles. Flamini and Ramsey will replace it, and we're going to see these guys. I wonder if they're saying Walcott is maybe coming back. I doubt that it's gonna happen, but I think that yeah, I think we have enough. We have zero. We have Ozil 3-0. West Bromwich Albion versus Tottenham Hotspur. Score,
Oh, here
please.
it is. Here's that good one. I think this is a good game. I will go with a 1-2. West Brom taking a loss here against Tottenham.
Okay. 1-2. So Tottenham winning. I wonder what happened to Seido Berahino, man. Last year I see him all over the place, and this year, nothing from that guy. Riding the bench. Uh, Tottenham is too strong. West Brom. You know what? West Brom is. They're kind of bully team. I'm not a fan of them. Um, they're not bad either. And I think Tottenham has been on a roll. Um, 0-1. So Spurs winning. Man U versus the Giant Killers, West Ham. What do you say here?
I tell you what, I definitely like the coach in West Ham. I believe
Slaven Bilic.
I believe he has brought a whole new game plan to this team.
Can they
Man,
pull it off in Manchester?
can they pull it off at Old Trafford? You know what? I'm gonna go with a 1-1.
1-1. Okay. And I am going to go with a 0-0. Very boring game. I think Payet will probably miss out. Marshall, don't believe the hype. That commentator that was calling him the new Henry, I wish I had some to smoke like he was. Marshall pretty much faded after 3 games, and I don't want to hate the man. It's his new season 19, but do not compare him to the legend, to the one and only Thierry Henry, because it will backfire. All right, in the last game, Chelsea versus Bournemouth. Can this go really any other way? Yes, it can when Chelsea's playing. It can go all 3 ways.
Absolutely.
They take it all 3 ways. So what do you
Chelsea
think?
is unpredictable this season.
Yeah,
However, I will give him this win of 2-0.
2-0. You know what? Then I agree with you. I mean, Bournemouth, not a bad team, but it's a team that's destined to go back down. Chelsea's catching some form. I don't think this can go any other way. I am saying Begovic, clean sheet again.
Oh, I hear that Courtois is coming back.
You think Courtois playing this one?
This is what I hear.
Yeah, he is ready. I mean, he's been practicing, and so I don't think he'll change the outcome of the game much. But yeah, that's good to know. For the future.
And for some of the fantasy guys that
Yeah.
have Begovic,
My brother just shot me a text over playing that DraftKings, and he picked Begovic. So now that you mention that, I'll have him double check that. I'm gonna go with a clean sheet for Chelsea, regardless of who it is, and we will do their home, Arsenal's home. I picked Arsenal 3-0. I don't know why this has nothing to do with Arsenal. I'm bringing up Arsenal. They cannot win more. We agree on this one as well. 2-0, my friend. So we had a couple scores that we had the same. We also had a couple that were very different with this game. Watford Norwich. We also had me saying that Leicester is gonna lose. So we will see what will happen. Before I let you go, my man, thank you again for showing up. Thank you to all the listeners. One more last thing. Who is your captain for tomorrow in the Fantasy League? Who will get you double the points? Who will tear up Saturday the 5th tomorrow?
if you guys have Aguero,
Aguero.
I believe another great player that will show up is Ozil.
Okay, but there can only be one captain, Goran.
But there can only be one, so I'm thinking here. I'm going to go with Ozil.
You're gonna go with Ozil.
With another couple of assists and a possible goal.
All right. Well, let's hope that happens. And I am going. And you know what? I haven't even checked much, but I feel that I picked Southampton to beat Aston Villa 2-0. And my pick is Tadic. Tadic from Southampton with a goal and a assist. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for listening to tonight's show, and we will listen and talk to you again next weekend. Thank you very much. We are live from the 433 compound. Have a good night, everyone. Peace.